Hello again, everybody. Zack Attack is here with my WWE Raw review for tonight, Monday, May 27th, 2013. What would be a better way to celebrate Memorial Day on Monday Night Raw this week than to have Raw in old Canada? Calgary, to be exact. And as I'm making this review right now, the Bret Hart Appreciation Night is going on after the show. Of course, it'll be on the WWE app that's being shoved down our throats. And I'll give you coverage. I'm watching it on the app right now. Yes, I'm one of those people who got the app. So I'll not only be giving you my thoughts on the results of Raw tonight, I'll also be giving you some coverage of the Bret Hart Appreciation Night that's going on right this second on the app. Until then, my thoughts on Raw tonight in Calgary. We have some okay matches. We have two matches made for Payback. Well, the main event match got some new stipulations, which I'll explain in our first segment of the evening. But probably the best part about Payback is that we get the announcement tonight that, as of right now, Payback is going to be the return of one man who we thought was going to come back no later than SummerSlam. And of course, what better way to return than to return in your own hometown of Chicago, Illinois, who beat the Red Wings again tonight, bringing it to a Game 7 in the NHL playoffs if you're wanting to do that, because I live in Michigan, so I want to say that. You know exactly who it is. I'm glad to see him. To give you my thoughts, but it's coming back when the match was made during the highlight reel with Chris Jericho. It's okay. And the Canadian crowd tried to be chanty, but not as chanty as I thought it was going to be. But the best Fandango reaction I've seen when Fandango came out later on in the evening. So let's kick off Raw with the stipulations tweaked just a little for a Payback main event, which is now official. John Cena against Ryback in a rematch from Extreme Rules for the WWE Championship. Now, last week, Ryback challenged Cena to the rematch. The stipulation he wanted was an ambulance match. Well, Cena came out saying, Ryback, I accept your match stipulation at the pay-per-view. But I want to take it one step further. Going to a match that's called the 3 Stages of Hell. Basically, a best 2 out of 3 falls match, but with extreme stipulations. Well, extreme in WWE's logic, being a TVPG 3 Stages of Hell. Now, previous 3 Stages of Hell matches have featured Triple H and Austin. The Triple H and Shawn Michaels. It basically involved, I think it was Austin and Triple H. The first fall was a normal match. Second fall, street fight. Third fall, steel cage. And I think Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and I think it was like a ladder match, steel cage, and I forgot the other stipulation for their 3 Stages of Hell match. But in this version of 3 Stages of Hell, or 3 Stages of Cena Pain, the first fall in this Stages of Hell match, which ain't even much of a 3 Stages of Hell match, especially after I tell you the stipulations named, fall 1 would be a lumberjack match. What's more hellish than having a handicap match, a lumberjack match, with all these guys swanning the ring? The second fall would be a tables match. The third fall would be the ambulance match. It should be tables match, cage match, ambulance. That's what it should be in my mind. But, this is the way of being extreme these days. TVBG. So there we go. The 3 Stages of Hell, as WWE likes to call it. Ryback and Cena's official. Ryback accepted the changes to Cena's stipulations, and that he would be ready to destroy Cena down to hell. But as Ryback left after saying, Cena, I accept your new stipulations, here comes Curtis Axel. Of course, the new Heyman guy, who everybody, including myself, has shown and have said their opinion of, especially my Raw review last week, if y'all missed it. So, indeed, Axel, and we even heard some We Want Brett chants. And we don't know who's there at the Appreciation Night. I think I saw Shawn Michaels show up, because he's there for Brett. They had a Shawn Michaels Appreciation Night, and I got Brett. Anyway, Curtis Axel came out saying, I beat Triple H. Well, in a count-out, after Triple H kind of collapsed last week. And the storyline thing is that Triple H wasn't able to fly out to Calgary, and he's normal. He didn't get any serious altercation, like serious side effects after getting nailed in it. That's why I said that this whole fake collapse thing is a sacrifice after what happened when Triple H got nailed with the sledgehammer at the match with Lesnar last week. Extreme Rules. So Axel said, I beat Triple H, and even Cena applauded Axel for showing his guts out there against Triple H last week. And Cena's like, hey, you showed up against Triple H, how about you take it up against me? So Cena and Curtis Axel is named for your main event this evening. And kind of another little screwy finish like last week's main event with Axel, which I'll explain when we get to that main event. Now on to some action. Our first match of the evening, which involved Humberto Del Rio taking on Biggie Langston, wanting revenge after losing to Biggie Langston last week on Raw, but then winning a match against Biggie Langston on the main event. Once again, Ziggler wasn't there. Still recovering from his injuries. So wasn't Christian. I did love the Where's Christian shot. Where's Christian sign? Where is Christian? Anywho, of course, Biggie Langston really was throwing his weight around, overpowering Humberto with his strength and his power. It was dominant all over. Humberto was ready to get him the victory. But indeed, Humberto kept fighting back with some big super kicks and even had the cross arm breaker at least once or twice. But indeed, Biggie Langston tried to fight back, especially with help from AJ, which unfortunately, her distraction would later backfire. As Biggie was distracting the referee about beating up Humberto, AJ pulled the turnbuckle off, pulled the covering off one of the turnbuckles, exposing the steel. But as AJ was trying to put it back on, Humberto came back to life as Biggie Langston was being dominant. And Biggie Langston got whammed against the exact same ring post that the steel was exposed on. And he hit it. And when Biggie Langston knocked out from the steel post, Humberto got the wall up in the pin. 1, 2, 3. So Humberto wins with a little inadvertent help from AJ with a plan to expose the steel on the turnbuckle and have Humberto hit it. Backfired as the steel post hit Langston instead. And Langston was very upset with AJ with her actions. And AJ was explaining to him, I was trying to help. So we'll see if this is a sign of Biggie maybe splitting from Ziggler. Especially after Biggie defeated the guy that's going to beat the number one contender for Ziggler's title last week. It could be a sign that Biggie Langston could be splitting up with Mr. Ziggler and maybe going for a title shot maybe one day. You never know. So there you go. Humberto Rio gets the victory over Biggie Langston, ending the little feud, but of course getting feud up for his soon-to-be title match against Dolph Ziggler. I'm guessing Payback. Hopefully that's when Ziggler will return. Now on with our next two matches, which involved rematches from Extreme Rules involving the titles won by the Shield. First things first, the United States Championship was on the line as Dean Ambrose defended yet again against Kofi Kingston. Last week, Kofi did get a rematch on SmackDown, but indeed got distracted with the Shield. By the way, a little coverage by Bret Hart. He got a plaque or something. I'm watching, like I said, I'm not only reviewing Raw, but I'm also giving you coverage of the Bret Hart Appreciation Night. Apparently, he's got some sort of proclamation, probably from the mayor or Prime Minister of Canada, saying that it's Bret Hart Day. So, and it was Natty's birthday. We would see Natalia in action later on in the evening, but with the continuing coverage of my thoughts on Raw, especially with Dean Ambrose and Kofi Kingston rematch U.S. Championship. It was a good match. It was pretty good matchup as Kofi was indeed going up on all aggression. He was trying to get back to the United States Championship. And even trying to throw in Paradise a few times. And of course Ambrose ducked it. He even got to nail his other big move, the SOS. But indeed, despite Kofi's best attempts to try to get back the championship with decent defense. He even delivered a proof at one point. Ambrose showed, of course, his own offense as well, taking over for the later half of the matchup following a fury from Kofi. Whereas Ambrose was trying to regain the championship, Kofi, of course, came back in action, and of course delivered all his other. That's when he delivered the SOS. But indeed, Kofi got swept underneath the ring by Mr. Ambrose. He got railed against the ring steps. He bumped his head on the steel ring steps. With Kofi still woozy from that impact on the steel steps, Ambrose nailed his headlock driver finisher to get the victory. 1, 2, 3, and retain the United States Championship. I always say IC Championship. We will see the IC Champion in non-title action. Later on, of course, I'm referring to Mr. Barrett. As Dean Ambrose celebrated his victory over Kofi Kingston in a decent matchup for the United States Championship. One to the second rematch from Extreme Rules involving the other piece of gold that the Shield won. The tag team titles. As Team Hell No would take on the Shield, the other members, Rollins and Reigns. Now, if you didn't see my attack line today, I said in my attack line that I predicted that Team Hell No would get a rematch either tonight or at Payback. And at the rematch, something will happen and they will hopefully tease a Team Hell No breakup. Well, it may happen. Dean Bryan's, of course, been thinking ever since last week, losing the championship, that he's been the weak link of the group. And in his mind, he had something to prove, as shown with his early fury in the beginning of the matchup, with Dean Bryan not being the weak link, being his head. Dean Bryan, of course, was very aggressive in the beginning of the matchup, taking it to Rollins. But indeed, Reigns and Rollins was, of course, good double team work. Even Kenny Dean Bryan was trying to recapture Old Glory. And, of course, had some great double team moves of their own. It really looked like Team Hell No had their problems set aside for the well-being of the team and hopefully would regain the championships. But, of course, as we find out, that turned out to be a false equation. It was a pretty long match. It was at least 3 segments. It was a pretty decent action. It was a pretty back-and-forth action. And, of course, the Shield took control and, of course, isolated D-Bar in the corner. In every attempt that Team Hell No did try to get back in the match, the Shield, Rollins, and Reigns would indeed drag him down again and isolate one or the other. Kane O'Brien in the corner. And, of course, after D-Bar got an early attack, Kane got the hot tag. And Kane came in like a house of fire. And trying to get back the advantage. But indeed, every time Kane or D-Bar had a little bit of fury, had a flurry of offense, the Shield would bring him down to earth again. And then indeed, after Kane's little hot fury being taken down by the Shield, another hot tag to D-Bar. And of course, D-Bar was all over the place with his big high-flying moves. But indeed, near towards the end of the match, the problems that Kane and D-Bar have been experiencing since losing the championship came back to haunt them, as D-Bar was ready to fly. And Kane was taking care of Rollins at the ringside area and was ready to deliver a big move on Reigns. Trying to be a big league on Reigns. Kane trying to stop him. But D-Bar, aggressively, angry, and wanting to prove to everybody that he's not the weak link, that he is the best member of the Team Hell No. He did not listen to Kane's advice to stay on the corner and leaped onto Reigns. And with D-Bar out of the equation, Rollins came up the top rope with a high knee on top of Kane's head and a 1, 2, 3 victory for the Shield, retaining the Raw Tag Team Championships. And of course, the search between Team Hell No continues as Kane trying to help D-Bar regain his focus on focusing on winning the titles and not focusing on proving to himself that he is the better athlete. Then indeed, that distracted D-Bar. Instead of focusing on the match, he focused on his ego. And unfortunately, his ego got the best of him. And of course, the Shield regained the championships. And like I mentioned, this is hopefully the tease that we've all been waiting for, that the Team Hell No will break up. And D-Bar will finally go solo and focus on individual championships. And before we get to our next match, like I said, continuing coverage of the Bret Hart Appreciation Night as a fellow Canadian and WWE Hall of Famer, Pat Patterson, is coming to the ring right now to say a few words about Bret Hart, because Pat Patterson was an agent around when Bret Hart was in the WWE, actively in the 90s. So it's a big night. That's kind of weird that Ain't Cool WWE's doing the first ever Raw post show. It's kind of a hint at what they're going to do with Yahoo, when their relationship starts with the pre and post show of Raw. Hey, they had a post show for the pay-per-view. What the hell? They can have a post show on Raw on the app. And have a drinking game with that. Then drink on Raw. They yourselves have a drinking game that every time that they mention the WWE app on Raw, have a shot. And I bet you a lot of people will be drunk and dizzy by the time Raw's over by how many times they mention the app. That's what I saw on Facebook tonight. Or do a shot every time you see a trending on Twitter on the bottom of the screen. Social media. Anyway, speaking of social media, the WWE app determined the stipulation involving The Miz in our next matchup. Wade Barrett against Fandango. Wade Barrett wanted revenge after what happened last week when Fandango basically left this partner high and dry. Instead of helping Barrett in a tag match against Miz and Jericho, Fandango basically danced on the outside as Wade Barrett got his ass beat, including having to tap out to Miz's figure 4. Speaking of Jericho, Jericho's coming out to talk about Bret as well in this Bret Hart Appreciation Night. Anywho, Miz had 3 stipulations by the fans that the fans had to choose from. Special guest announcer, commentator, and his tip I knew they were going to vote for special guest referee, and it was special guest referee. So The Miz would indeed get to be the special guest referee in a match between Wade Barrett and Fandango. It was kind of a silly and short match as well. But indeed, Wade and Miz's feud was not over yet, as indeed Miz kind of influenced the win. As Wade was taking advantage of Fandango in the beginning, including trying to deliver some of his big moves, Wade and Miz had a little show off. After that, Wade indeed kicked Fandango. But as Wade was going to do more damage on Fandango, Miz, being the unimpartial referee that he is, gave Wade the skull-crushing finale, enabling Fandango to get the victory on Fandango, on Wade Barrett with help, of course, Miz. So with the help of Miz interfering to attack Wade Barrett, Fandango has pinned the Intercontinental Champion. After that, Miz has had a little fun of his own by pushing Fandango, kicking him in the head, and having him fall to the bottom and Summer Rae falling on top of Fandango. And Miz had a fake count of 1, 2, 3 with Summer Rae getting a fake pin on Fandango, embarrassing her and Fandango. So what does that mean? Fandango gets an Intercontinental Championship match since he pinned the champion with a little help from Miz. We'll see, especially with Canada. Best reaction for Fandango since the war in Jersey. So there you go. With Fandango in the air, Fandango gets the victory over Wade Barrett in a silly matchup with a little help from The Miz attacking Wade Barrett as their feud continues on. Now, on with our next match. But before the next match, which involved a 6-man tag. Tons of Funk and Great Khali against the 3MB, the Job Squad. What do I have to say? Silly match, stupid match. 3MB loses like usual, and Heath Slater got squashed. Literally got squashed by Borders Clan in the end. Typical squash match. Tons of Funk and Khali win. 3MB loses. Let's move on. Of course, happy birthday to Natalya. And unfortunately, in the end, it wasn't a very happy birthday for Natalya, as we would see later on. Now on to the next segment, which involved Chris Jericho and the Highlight Wheel, talking to Paul Heyman. Now, Jericho had a lot of questions for Heyman. And of course, some of Heyman and his new guy, who we love or either love to hate, Curtis Axel. And of course, Jericho was discovered by Heyman, of course, ECW days. And Jericho was asking him about status on a a Heyman guy. No, not about Lesnar. No, not about Mr. Axel, but a man that we've been wanting to see come back for weeks. And have you noticed Raw's been sucking without one CM Punk? Love or hate Punk, he adds excitement to Raw, especially with his pipe bombs and exciting action. Well, of course, Jericho mentioned that CM Punk has been sitting on his butt for the last 6 weeks since walking out on Raw after his match with the Taker. Now, as I've been explaining, there was rumors about speculations about about Punk when he will return. Some said it was going to return last week. Others said it was going to return at SummerSlam. But now we finally know when Punk is returning. At Payback in his own hometown of Chicago, Illinois on June 16th. As Jericho saying that, Punk, you say you're the best in the world, but you're sitting on your ass. That I'm the best in the world. Of course, reigniting their feud from last year, which was an epic feud, by the way. So, basically, once again, it's basically the best versus the best. It's saying, Jericho, since Punk, you're sitting on your ass, that means I'm the best in the world, not you. So if Punk wants to be the best in the world, but be at home, how about he gets off his ass and sees me at Payback? And Heyman said, on behalf of my client, I accept. He even said before that, Heyman said there was going to be some sort of announcement in the next couple weeks concerning the return of Punk. But the announcement was indeed pushed to tonight, as of this moment. Chris Jericho is set to wrestle CM Punk at Payback. Happy to see that Punk's returning, and what better way to come back than to wrestle the man that he had your best feud with last year besides your feud against Daniel Bryan, Chris Jericho. Their matches at Mania, and specifically the match at Extreme Rules last year, was great. They had great matches together, great chemistry. Can't wait to see Punk finally come back and wrestle Jericho. So if this is true, Punk returns at Payback, finally the WWE is fucking saved. For at least the summer. So there you go. Chris Jericho, Highlight Wheel. Challenges Punk, and Paul Heyman accepts, but will Punk accept? We'll probably find out in the next couple weeks. But till then, Punk set to return in Chicago next month at Payback. Hope that's true. Because we want Punk back. We want Punk indeed. Now on to our next match. Divas match. Unfortunately, it was Divas tag. Like I mentioned earlier, after the Tons of Funk match, Natalya, today's her birthday. Unfortunately, like I said in that video, in that bit, she didn't have it. Even Vince is coming out now. I'm watching, like I said, I'm watching this whole Bret Hart Appreciation Night. Shawn Michaels coming out. Even Vince is coming out. Wow. This should be very interesting. There you go. As Natalya would team up with Kaitlyn against the Bellatrons. And even Natalya, in honor of Uncle Bret, she would indeed nailed the sharpshooter at one point. And it was a typical Divas tag, silly match. Kaitlyn even got a spear. But unfortunately, as Kaitlyn was going to go for another spear on Brie ducked and Kaitlyn speared Natalya instead. Inadvertently after Brie ducked. And of course, that unfortunately enabled Brie to get the cover and the pin on Natalya on her birthday, like I mentioned, making Natalya's birthday an unhappy one. Damn, Vince's hair is slicked back now. It's like everybody's changed. I'm watching this, like I said, I'm watching this Bret Appreciation Night. Is it just me, or Shawn Michaels got dentures? Does Shawn have dentures? It looked like it from my angle. And Shawn Michaels' beard's pretty weird. And Vince's hair is all slicked back and greased up. I haven't seen his hair that greasy since the Attitude Era, when his hair was really slicked back and black. He had long black hair. So, there you go. Now we're going to the next tag match. Randy Orton and Sheamus against Rhodes Scholars. Of course, Randy has pinned both Sandow and Cody in the last couple weeks in singles matches. And it could be a teaser for Randy and Sheamus being a full-time tag team to take on, the Shield for tag team gold. They want a piece of the Shield, and they may end up getting it. Especially after this match. But in the beginning, Rhodes Scholars had some great offensive. Despite the egos and the big stardom of both Orton and Sheamus, Rhodes Scholars took it to them in the beginning of the matchup, really taking over some great double team moves, proving why they should have been the tag team champions a few months ago. I'm glad to be united, but please, please give him another shot. Please give him a championship match and let him win. But unfortunately, now that Shield's a championship, they're probably going to give the next title match to, like I said, Orton and Sheamus, who, despite being overtaken by World Scouts at the beginning of the match, Sheamus and Orton finally found their groove. Orton and Sheamus both tried to nail their big moves. Orton even got to nail the DDT and almost nailed the RKO on Cody until Sandow pulled them out. I think it was Sandow was going to get the RKO till Sandow got pulled by Cody. Yeah, Cody pulled Sandow out of the ring before Sandow would get the RKO. And like I said, despite great double team work and great offense by Sandow and Cody, even delivering their big moves like the Beautiful Disaster Kick and the Elbow Disdain, Sheamus was indeed got the hot tag after, indeed, Orton tagged in Sheamus after Orton got beat up for most of the matchup. And Sheamus came in and dominated, and even with Cody took it out by Randy Orton outside the ring. It left Sheamus and Sandow in the ring, and Sandow to get white noised and also blow kicked with a 1-2-3 victory for Sheamus and Randy Orton. So indeed, Randy Orton and Sheamus, maybe, like I said, since they're a tag team now, focusing on tag team wrestling, it could end up making them the new number one contenders for the Shield's tag titles because they said on the app, that they want the Shield. They lost at Mania against them, with, of course, Big Show being the weak link and attacking him. So, now Sheamus and Orton are now focusing on tag team work, especially focusing on getting a tag team title shot against, well, the Shield, Rollins and Reigns. We'll see how that works out. So there you go. Sheamus and Orton gets the victory in this tag match. Now on the main event, John Cena against Curtis Axel. Now, love or hate Curtis Axel. Curtis Axel's trying to prove that he's the guy, the Heyman guy. And he looked, once again, like he did with Triple H last week. He looked pretty good. And I thought, like the Triple H match last week, that Cena was going to squash Axel like a bug. And the push would be dead sooner than you know it. But like the Triple H match, Axel did have some great offense on Cena. And of course, had some okay moves. You know, he still got some work to be done. But if Axel really focuses on his in-ring prowess, and really works on his mic skills, and really tries to be a great entertainer, and really heeds the advice of Heyman despite everybody, including Cena and Bret Hart, talking to Axel about getting rid of Heyman, then Axel will really go places if he really focuses on improving his craft and really trying to be star material after being down in the bottom of the barrel for so long. Hopefully this new aggression will give him the aggression he needs to be a star. He even got to do the perfect plex at one point. That was kind of cool. But despite Axel's great offense, with some decent moves on Cena, basically weakening him down, taking him down to the ground with some headlocks and chin locks, and basically pounding and grounding moves. Of course, Super Cena would come back to play as he delivered the 5-knuckle shuffle. He tried an energy adjustment, but every time Cena tried to fight back, of course, Axel would indeed try to come back with his own set of defense. But of course, Cena tried to fight back with an STFU. But of course, Axel got out of that. But as Cena was indeed ready to deliver his big move after a clothesline, ready to finish Axel once and for all, the ambulance went off. It sounded like Scott Steiner's theme for a moment. Didn't it? Did the ambulance noise sound like the Scott Steiner thing? Holla if you hear me. That would be kind of weird and funny to see Scott Steiner return, but we knew it wasn't Steiner. It was an ambulance. So the ambulance came out, and of course Cena, knowing that it was Ryback in that ambulance, went out to the ambulance to try to head off Ryback face up against Ryback one-on-one and not by behind. He looked on the passenger door and the back doors of the ambulance, but couldn't see Ryback. And with that distraction, unfortunately, Cena forgot about the match. And he got counted out. So for the second week in a row, Curtis Axel wins the match by count out. It's kind of a screwy way to win matches. that Kurt Angle was going to brag for weeks that, "Ooh, I beat Triple H and John Cena." But of course, underneath those victories will be countouts. Because he beat Triple H by countout, and he beat John Cena by countout. So it's kind of we're ready to start with 2 countout victories over big guys. You know, countout victories over any victory over Cena or Triple H is good. But if it's a countout victory, why should you brag about it if you only won by a fucking countout and not really pin the guy? But after that countout, Cena was of course attacked by Ryback. And that's how he ended Raw. Ryback even tried to spear Cena through the screen again like he did for Extreme Rules. But Cena fought back trying to F-U Ryback off the stage. But then Ryback came back and threw Cena off the stage. So that's how we end Raw with Ryback throwing out Cena off the top of the stage into the ground. And Ryback standing tall. And setting a big message to Cena for their 3 stages of hell match. So they go, okay, Raw in Canada tonight. Of course, Bret Appreciation Night just ended with a lot of superstars in the back applauding Bret Hart. I didn't get to hear it because I was focusing on making this video, but I just thought you would wonder who was going to show up to this Bret Appreciation Night thing. You probably watched the replay on YouTube and WWE.com. Fan shot or professional shot. So there you go. Okay, well, including 2 matches made for Payback with the 3 stages of hell in WWE's mind. We've seen it right back for the WWE Championship with, of course, first fall lumberjack, second fall table, third fall ambulance. And, of course, the return of CM Punk. Hopefully, going to be returning at Payback against Chris Jericho, reigniting their great feud from last year. And I remember there was a feud that Jericho did, speaking of Jericho and Shawn Michaels, who I mentioned earlier. Jericho and Michaels, when they restarted their feud back in 2008, I thought it was going to be a boring feud again. But you know what? It was actually a pretty good feud in the summer of 2008, 5 years ago. Especially the great ladder match in No Mercy 2008. So if Jericho can rehash his feud with Shawn Michaels and have great matches with him still, imagine what he's going to do if he rehashes his feud with Punk. Especially when Punk returns next month at Payback in Chicago. At least it makes us look forward to the pay-per-view now, since we know Punk's going to come back. A little earlier than we thought, but still. Having Punk back, hopefully it gives Punk more aggression. And everyone will like him again somewhat. But make Punk's material more fresher, being gone for a month or 2. Instead of being in our faces every week. So I'm glad he took the month or 2 off. I'm glad to see him come back against Jericho in June. That is it for my Raw review for tonight. See you all later, and hope everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend, and of course Memorial Day today. With that in mind, you've all been attacked by the review from Zach. Thank you again. See you all later. Have a good night. Yeah.